It has been way too long since I painted my first sign, but I finally found the time and the perfect excuse to get back into it. I wanted to make a sign for Solomia. It was hard to decide on a phrase at first, so I went with a safe choice. Something about her love for dogs. Dogs are my favorite people. As usual, I started with digital sketches. It was a bit tricky to rearrange the words to look good on a horizontal sign, so it took a few iterations before I was happy with the result. Another thing I tried to keep in mind for the colors was to avoid having different colors touch. I wanted clear separation between them, since I'm still new to sign painting, and that makes it easier to work with. This time I wanted to work on a wooden base, instead of a standard painting canvas. I have already applied primer and sanded it down. My acrylic paints are mixed and ready to use. As for the brushes, I have a few new ones in the family. I have already tried them on my test piece. And I have to say, maybe when you're already a skilled sign painter, tools do not matter as much. But when you're a newbie, you really feel the difference. Now I just need to apply my base color and wait a few hours for it to dry. Since it's very intense color, it will probably take extra coats of paint for my letters to cover it up. But we'll see. While waiting for the base color to dry, I flipped the artwork on my iPad and transferred it onto tracing paper. Once I transferred the sketch onto the board, I could finally start painting. And right away, D stood for disappointment. Painting that first letter was a real struggle. Since I started painting pretty late in the day, it was hard to see my traced lines against the dark background. But with each new letter, things got a little better. For the block letters, I used a Mack 162, size 1/4 inch. It has synthetic gold and Talens bristles, which give it great spring and allow it to snap right back into shape. For the monoline letters, I used a Handover Series 333 size 3. It has even longer hair, so I assumed it would be harder to control. But I was wrong. It feels like the brush almost sticks to the surface and naturally follows the movement of your hand. I was worried about getting clean around the terminals at the end of my strokes, but this brush didn't let me down. Once I finished the first coat, I went to bed feeling a bit defeated. The next day I applied a second coat and focused on fixing the imperfections. After it dried, the only thing left was the inner line work. I transferred just the section of the sketch needed for those lines onto the board and was ready for the final painting. Since the line thickness was about the same as in the monoline letters, I used the Handover 333 again to keep things consistent. Long, continuous lines are really challenging, and curved ones are even harder. At first I tried painting them freehand, but the lines looked too shaky, so I picked up a Mahl stick for more stability. It felt especially satisfying on the last long curve of the letter S, almost like snowboarding down a hill. S is one of the hardest letters, and it always seems to show up in my projects. Not on purpose, but I actually love this letter, and painting it in different styles is a fun little challenge for me. Looking back at the finished piece, I realized that the D should not stand for disappointment. It should stand for discipline. The biggest takeaway from this project was learning how to overcome the rust. The first stroke is the hardest, but it gets easier from there. I hope Solomia loved the sign as much as I loved making it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.